I am your host, Marc Stevens, author of the book Government Indicted, which you can get at markstevens.net. 3 hours of anarchy radio, so strap in. It's going to be a bumpy ride. I have an idea that we're going to upset some people on this show, but that is to be expected. We'll get to that in just a moment. It is April 8th, 2017, live from the fortified compound in Mesa, Arizona. We talk about anarchy. Anarchy, of course, being the rejection of the concept of rulers and the practice of rulers. Does not mean no rules. What it means is no rulers, because we adopt, basic principle of behavior, which is do no harm. And we have the audacity to believe that this particular principle of do no harm applies to everyone. That we reject the double standard that it's okay to lie, steal, kill, and cheat other people just because you call yourself a government. But they were duly elected. Yeah. Not true. The facts would contradict that. So we're interested in going by the evidence, not a preconceived notion. And real quick, we'll mention, remember to mention the 2 deaths in the last couple of weeks. 2 big ones for me, anyway. I mean, Chuck Berry passing away at age 90. Just phenomenal influence. Bigger influence. I mean, he was a really good guitar player. And even if you want to turn around and say that he was just a flashy T-Bone Walker knockoff, the influence that he had, I mean, I don't think that. I mean, it's just a lot of criticism that way. But even if you do, you can't take away from the influence the man had on guitar players. I mean, huge influence on people like Angus Young and Chuck Berry and the Rolling Stones. What's his Keith Richards. So huge influence. So rest in peace. And then again, oh my gosh, Mr. Wump himself, Don Rickles, passed away also at age 90 a few days ago. So he'll be missed. What a talent there. Wow. So, but I want to get to a subject that I'm like I mentioned before. I think it's going to probably ruffle some feathers. There's a damn good reason why. Well, some damn good reasons why we don't discuss religion on the show. I don't discuss religion on the show because I don't think it's particularly important and it's so divisive. Yeah, because you've got two groups. You've got theists and people who don't, but an atheist or agnostic. Well, not necessarily agnostic, but atheists who don't believe in a God, and both sides think the other side is retarded. So you really don't get rational discussions when we bring that in. So I just keep it off the show. And another reason is because it ends an argument, supposedly. It's basically what happens is somebody, to justify abhorrent behavior, immoral behavior, will just say, but God. And that ends rational discussion. And I think it's dishonest, very dishonest, to try to rationalize your behavior that is obviously immoral, obviously not something you want done to yourself, which is, to me, the beginning and ending of ethics and morality. Do you want this being done to yourself? And then to turn around and justify such abhorrent, absolutely morally reprehensible behaviors and say it's because of God. And you can point out, yeah, but God was used to justify slavery. Okay? Thousands and thousands of years because God said it was okay. God was used to justify lynching people of African descent. Let's not forget that the KKK is a Christian organization. They believe that they are the God's chosen, that they are better. And that same kind of thinking, justifying slavery and everything all these years. It justifies murder. It justifies war. So if you listen to the broadcast on Wednesday, somebody pulled the God card. It wasn't the first time on the show because another regular caller had done it, and I just wasn't going to discuss it. It's dishonest because God said. Cannibalism has been justified because of God. Now, I know the argument is, well, that's not a true God. It's not my God. Well, you see why we don't bring it up at all? It's no, I mean, come on. So, there was a really, and I'm going to play this, at least part of it, and if the only people I have left listening to the show after this just happens to be Slayer fans, I'm good. I'm good with that. But if you can't get the lyrics, you nearly need to. So look up Slayer Jihad. And I apologize if the audio isn't very good, but it's worth playing. And so I'm going to post this on YouTube. And so because of the copyright thing, I'm not going to have the Slayer. So that's too bad. But maybe I should actually then also play Cult, because the whole God Delusion or Christ Delusion was a fantastic album. I want to just, before we get to callers, I just want to say that, again, if your argument is so weak, if your position is so poor that the only thing you can do is to say, but God, I think you really need to re-examine your position and to say that something that goes against even your holy book, that even when it says, thou shalt not kill, and to love one another, do unto others as you want done to you. If there's something in there about cutting someone's hand off because they've stolen something, or stoning them to death because they left the religion, they've turned their back on the faith, you really need to examine that, because that's not that's some pretty abhorrent behavior. Lynching somebody because of the color of their skin? Come on. So we're not going to allow that on the show anymore. I mean, dissent is always welcome, but saying but God or but philosophy, that's not a valid argument. It's not a valid justification. I don't want to hear this crap, but my God is true, and when they were sacrificing babies and virgins, that was a different God. I don't believe that. Because anybody can then turn around and say, well, I don't believe that your God is real. You see how that works? It's not a valid argument. It's not a valid justification to just shut down the discussion with, but God. No. How about some proof? How about some actual discussion on the ethics or the morality of the matter that's being taken place? Do you want that done to you? Do you want your ass hanging from a tree till you're dead just because of the color of your skin? Okay? It doesn't matter but God. That's not... Gosh. And what comes from the Wednesday show is somebody so conditioned and so set on killing that they'll justify it. But God, plants their feelings. Oh my gosh. Anything to justify slitting an animal's throat and eating its carcass. Anything that's such a ridiculous, and yes, it's a douche move to try to end the discussion. I don't care what you have to say. You have a well thought out, logical, cohesive argument. You're making a lot of sense, and I'm going to just ignore it, and I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing because God. Please, dissent is welcome on the show. You got to spare me the but God stuff because I'm not going to tolerate it. Because all you're saying to me is, I'm not going to take and seriously consider what you have to say. I'm going to completely dismiss it for no other reason but God or but philosophy, like I hear so many times. So again, dissent is always welcome on the show. 218-632-9399. Please don't do the but God stuff. So we have a new caller here. We have area code 360. You're live on the No Stay Project. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, Mark. My name is Rudo. You write that R-U-D-O, and I'm calling from the Peninsula and Washington.
All right.
And the reason I'm calling you is because I was real bad a couple of weeks ago on the island of Hawaii, traveling on a moped without a safety sticker, current as well as registration, not current. And so I'd like to learn the process of the motion to dismiss as well as the Brady request and challenge the jurisdiction of this Hawaii State District Court over me.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mark.
I'm sorry if I interrupted. I was just going to ask, did they charge you criminally?
No. This is a notice of traffic infraction in the District Court of Third Circuit. So
Okay.
that's not criminally, is it? Tell me, please.
If they're considering an infraction, like in California, like we heard last week, or in the last show, rather, on Wednesday, they are criminal, but they're like Arizona. They're treated as civil. So you can ask them what the burden of proof is, and it's probably going to be beyond a reasonable doubt. They're treating it as criminal. It's criminal, but they may be. All right, so they may be treating it as civil. I don't know. The Brady request may or may not apply. If it's not a misdemeanor or even a petty misdemeanor, the Brady is going to be the Brady material is not going to be applicable.
Okay.
However, the discovery material is, and I still believe that even if we're not calling it Brady material, if the prosecution, because this is the same in a civil proceeding anyway, the prosecutor is obligated to whether it's all right, plaintiffs are always obligated to do a reasonable investigation into the competency and credibility of their witnesses before they file. So he's supposed to know this information before. He is supposed to disclose to you anyway, whether we call it Brady or not, if his witness is not competent and qualified. It's because knowingly putting him on the stand knowing he's not qualified, is prosecutorial misconduct. Whether we call it an infraction or we call it a felony, it's still the same thing. So, I think it's still discoverable material. So, as far as the motion to dismiss, are you familiar with how familiar are you with the way we do things here?
I'm not familiar with it. I've never really practiced anything like this yet. I've followed several people and have come through many to you just the last couple of weeks. I'm not familiar with the procedures at all. I was not able to find the proper paperwork or how to file it. So where do I start?
Well, the paperwork's available on the website. You can go to my Sells store, which is markstevens.sells.com. But the basis of it is, and all this information, if you listen to prior shows, if you look on the forum, through the articles and whatnot, we've got a ton of information regarding that. It's all laid out in Government Indicted, the latest book. And all we're doing is we are challenging the prosecutor's claims. So the burden of proof logic dictates that the one who makes the claim, the one who makes the affirmative claim, A did B, bears the burden of proof. And we are just applying that principle to these proceedings, and we're not accepting any sacred cows. We're not accepting anything that's already being proven true. If there's no evidence to prove it, we're not going to believe that it's true. And what we're doing is attacking the foundation of the prosecution's claim, which is, hey, dude, you're physically in Hawaii. Our rules apply to you, and that means we have jurisdiction to do these things to you. We're saying we want the proof that that's true. And that's it. That is it in a nutshell. Another thing is we are just asking questions to bring out contradictions. And unfortunately, we're up against the break, so we'll have to cover this in the next segment, so just hold tight.